Hello, good day. This is Dr. Ligardo Arpalaque Jr. And for today's lesson, I will be discussing about 6 steps to sustain organizational change. Okay, so first let's discuss some facts and information about why employees resist change. So first, it is stated here that change is necessary for survival. Um, Yes, most people understand that change is necessary for survival, but in this era, yeah, some people are skeptical about change or not willing to deal with change because um, at this era in our society, change are so fast. Now the level of change is so fast, so it is happening at unprecedented manner. So people are really uncomfortable for change. So it is common for people to resist change because they have previous experiences about change, and some managers or some organizations fail to sustain the energy, and there are progress that are stalled, and it result to cynicism. So these three here, so energy disappear, progress stall, and cynicism surface are are areas of which the management would look into. So presented here are reasons why employees resist change. So resistance is happening because of the following reasons. So first is incompetence for new work. So if employees would be reassigned to another job assignment, another job designation with a different uh, duties and responsibilities, expect that people would resist change because they feel that they are not ready, because they don't have the skills, the exposure, and the training to be effective in their new job or new position. So others also would resist change because of the perception of more work. So changes, of course, involves adjustments. So if there are changes in your designation, in your job description, so expect that there will be more work and more responsibilities. So another reason is fear of job loss. You know, when there is a merger in a company or when there is a major change in the company, so people are apprehensive that they might be one of those people who would be offered to early retirement package, or would be offered to accept certain financial scheme, or that they would be retrenched or they would lose their job. And then another reason is changes of routine. Now, so when people are become too familiar with their routine, with their duties and responsibilities, it is hard for them to get out from their comfort zone. Why? Because changes involves new adjustments, and new adjustments sometimes lead to tensions and struggles and even depression. And then another reason why employees resist change is due to fear of unknown. Now, so if management fails or did not invest on informing people why there is a need to change, what must be done in order to adjust change. Now, so if people would not be able to identify and understand the vision, mission, and goals of that it supports the change in the organization, there is this fear of the unknown, and that is normal. And then next is unhealthy communication. So when people lower in the lower strata, in the management level or in the organization, um, are not represented now in the process of change, then they would not be able to understand why there is a need to change. And then next is um, seventh reason why employees resist change is due to perceived loss of organizational position, especially when there is emerging uh, between or among companies. So people would be afraid that they might be demoted, or there might be a decrease of responsibilities that would result to, or job description that would result to decrease in salary. Then the last one is the mistrust of management, especially if the employees have had previous experiences with regards to change, and that the management or the top managers were not able to fulfill the promises being offered to the subordinates, or when the employees experience failures because of changes in the past. So these eight here are the main reasons why employees resist change. So when management fails to consider how the proposed improvements would be integrated into their employees' daily work. So once a solution is found, organizations tend to push the new process on the system and the workforce. As people come to grips with unfamiliar concepts, ideas, and processes, it is not uncommon for those who work within the system to become skeptics, procrastinators, or even active resistors. So, those who study human behavior discover a tension within many individuals who suffer an internal conflict. On one hand, people want to improve their lives, but at the same time, they want a life that is stable and without chaos. Therein lies one of the primary sources of the problem. So many organizations have history of unsuccessful change efforts, which causes some to become cynical and resistant to change due to fear and anxiety. We have to understand that fear and anxiety are natural responses to change, but can be addressed with openness, and organizations must create a culture in which people can speak their minds without fear of reprisal. So, Dr. W. Edwards Deming, generally recognized as one of the greatest quality experts of the 20th century, stressed that management must drive out fear in the workplace so everyone can work effectively. Organizations must also understand the needs of their workforce and the underlying reasons for their resistance. In fact, organizations should look into resistance as an opportunity to get it right. No? Opportunity to get it right. Many times, resistance to change is a signal that something is amiss, or that mistakes might have been done. So here, careful analysis therefore is required before forcing a change upon the workforce, as this only brings about greater resistance and seldom succeeds. So failed change means lost opportunities, competitive vulnerability, reduced productivity, decreased quality, lost revenues, higher turnover of employees, elevated absentee rates, and increased employee cynicism. So, failed change can also create a hostile and toxic culture in which resistance becomes the normal reactions to change. There is likely no business case that justifies moving forward until the resistance is appropriately addressed. So, if the management failed to make people understand and make people embrace change, so there would be lost of various opportunities. Here, so competitive vulnerability means that the company would not be competitive with the rest of the competing establishments or organizations that offers similar services or products. Then reduce productivity. If people are not happy, then they would not be productive. That is very simple. So it reduced to decrease quality of products and services because people are very vulnerable. They're not happy. There are conflicts within the organization. This means lost sales, lost revenues, and then higher turnover is possible. Meaning people will resign, and when the organization loses people, that means new additional budget for hiring and training of new employees, and then there will be elevated absentee rates, meaning people would look for means to be absent even if they're not sick or the reasons are not valid, but they would look for means that they would not be able to report to their station or to their offices because they're not happy. And then, of course, cynicism, people would become negative. So management should invest its resources in manpower to make people in the organization understand why there is a need to change. So let us now look into the steps in overcoming resistance. So change is inevitable, change is necessary because to change means to survive. So if the internal and the external factors already demand that there is a change in the company, then the by any means the company must address the need to change. So first step is to fully understand the very nature of the resistance. Sometimes that is technological, meaning people in the organizations are afraid to change because they are not ready. They don't have the skills, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the exposure not to be able to support now the change that they have to embrace or that they have to do their job specifications. But other than technological, often it is human based. So it is within the employees because people naturally are uncomfortable with change. Who would like to change if you are already familiar with your duties and responsibilities, if you are already comfortable with your job specifications? So organizations need to make participants comfortable and convert them into willing partners. Also, the management or the top management should invest trainings, symposiums, forum to make their employees understand why there is a need to change, why this change is necessary because it's not only beneficial to the company, to the business owner, but also it will bring additional benefits to the employees. And when it involves human factor, it is really somehow or somewhat difficult. But if it is being organized, being managed by the right person, then the challenge to make people understand why there is a need to change would be successful. So next here is to communicate the need for change. So the biggest problem voiced in many employees' surveys is lack of adequate communication. So you have to formally communicate to your employees, to your people, why there is a need to change, why change is necessary, why not why not engaging or investing in change is negative or would bring something bad to the employees, and why embracing change is beneficial to the employees, not only to the top management and to the owners, but also to the employees. So management must ensure that information relative to impending change is continuously communicated but adapted to the message and audience. Focus on the WIIFM or what's in it for me. message with clarity. So, one of the failures of the management is in the communication, the need to communicate to people is the fake news. Now, sometimes demoralizing information, which later would be labeled as fake news, would be circulated in the system. Now, because somebody in the top management or somebody who knows about the impending change feed wrong information, or the manner of spreading the information is somehow negative or malicious in nature. So naturally, people would be apprehensive, that people would be afraid, people would be skeptical. So the right person should be tasked to communicate, not just somebody or anybody in the organization. So the person who understands fully why there is a need to change must be tasked to make these people understand and embrace why there's a need to change. So we should get out as managers now, should get away with fake news of spreading malicious information that are not really beneficial for the impending change in the organization. So the next step is to develop or to involve people early and often. Now, so take note of the word involvement of people early and often. So studies uh, show that resistance drops off in proportion to the involvement of participants. So meaning the more involved the employees are, the more that uh, they would support the change or the impending change. So one of my early mentors told me not to expect 100% support from individual or from employees, and this is really true. You cannot expect that all members of the organization would fully embrace the change. But if more or less you are involving all employees in the different committees that would look into the implementation of the necessary change. Expect also that there is this certain level of understanding and it because they're involved. So when people are involved, they tend to own the change, not just simply understand why there is a need to change, but they own the change. So, as much as possible, you have to set up networks and to reach out people as many as possible. Uh, of course, the level of acceptance, the level of involvement would not be equal because people don't share also the same uh, positions and the same responsibilities in the organization. But the message here is you have to involve all members of the organization as much as possible. The fourth step is to create opportunities for smaller but meaningful change. So, in this yellow line, yellow slide here, consistent small steps taken in the right direction create meaningful change over time. So nothing breeds success like success. So ensure that initial efforts are focused on areas where success and payoff are highly probable. This can win allies and soften resistance. So meaning here, so you have to focus on areas wherein success is success. The high success rate is very possible. So do not focus on areas that is somehow gray or areas that are questionable or not yet clear, but focus on areas wherein people would see success, that people can understand that this is profitable. We need to change because we will gain something in return. Now, do not focus on impending problems that can be solved when given enough time and when invested with more um, time to talk to solve or more investment with regards to looking into possible solutions. So if you focus on the positive side of the change and make people understand that they would be benefit in return, nah? So then expect that people would support. No, but if you focus on the negative side of change, then of course people would be skeptical and would be cynical about the change. Okay, so the fifth stage is to provide support for change. So allow employees to voice concerns and talk with others who have gone through similar changes. Provide reassurance that support will be available throughout the change effort. No, so you have to listen as managers. You have to listen. It is normal for people to afraid to change. It is normal for people to feel negative because if they are not ready, the question here is how ready is your people to accommodate change. Now, so in the workplace, so you have to let people voice out your concern, and you have to listen because their concern are legitimate. You have to understand that your employees are have families, na? So if they would lose your job, that means they would lose the opportunity to provide food in their table, provide opportunities to send your children to school. So you have to invest on people. So you have to listen to people that there would be trainings and seminars to develop knowledge, develop skills that would make them ready with the change. And you have to make people understand. You have to make people emotionally, mentally, and psychologically understand that the change is necessary, that the survival of the company or the survival of the organization with the massive changes in the industry is necessary in order to sustain, in order to remain in business. So you have to provide reassurance that support will be available, and that the company would not left the employees in the dark because there will be investments with regards to the development of new knowledge and skills that would make them ready and competitive now in the new branding or the new image of the company. And the fifth one is as a manager or as somebody with position in the company, as somebody that would implement change in the company, you have to be flexible and patient. Now, change is tumultuous with many ebbs and flows. So there may be challenges, but most can be dealt with through understanding, through patience and flexible implementation of strategies. So here, so when you are in a conversation with your subordinates or with your people, so you have to guide the conversation, but don't dominate it. Like making people understand no? Why there is a need to fulfill, why there's a need to fast track deadlines. No? So you have to guide a conversation, but you should not dominate it. So meaning you would allow people to talk, to voice out, and you also have to be firm why there is a need now to reduce the deadline, the number of days in the deadline. So you have to set clear deadlines, but then negotiate exceptions with individuals via message who seem to have good excuses. So meaning if it's in a group and that every person or every member of the group expresses the reasons why they cannot pass the required task or they would not be able to fulfill the expected output in time, do not, as much as possible, do not to deal with the excuses on that actual meeting, but after going to your office and after reviewing the meeting notes, and then you find valid reasons, then you will communicate that to the individual. So you have to communicate that individually. So do not say it in front of the group because it will give a negative impression, and especially if it involves drama in meetings. So if there are like health reasons that in the family and the employee would cry, would become melodramatic, then perhaps people would say nadala naman si sir sa drama. So after going back to your office, then you may communicate with that person via call or via email that you are accepting the reason. But as much as possible, so if the person asks for a 3-day extension, do not give the 3-day exemption. You have to be firm that it will be submitted 2 days after the deadline or 1 day after the deadline. Okay, and no more excuses after that. The last time I shared something about the new KPI or the new key performance indicators. So we have here, no? So four KPI. So keep people informed. So they should not be caught unaware of what's happening in the organization. They should be informed as early as possible because they are important partners or they are important agents in the organization. And then next is keep people involved. Okay, keep them involved early and as often as possible. Then next is keep people interested. So you make them understand, you make them involved, and you should make them develop high interest. So here you would be telling them what are the plans of the organization on how to improve their knowledge, how to improve their technological skills that would make them more competent and more competitive in their specific job uh, or the specific offices. And then the fourth one is keep people inspired. So the lower members of the organizations in terms of the uh, positions would be able to get the inspiration from you. So you as a manager should be the source of that inspiration. So the see in you, the interest, the enthusiasm, and the passion for change, for that necessary change, and you keep them inspired. Na? Why? Because you yourself is their source of inspiration. So as leaders and as the managers in the organization, it is important that we should manifest that passion and that we should be the inspiration of our people uh, all the time. Okay? So that's it. So thank you so much, and I hope that you learned something now about the tips on how to make our people understand and embrace change in the organization.